U.S. consumer sentiment is taking a dive as the war in Iran stokes fears of inflation. Now, a month into the war, gasoline prices have skyrocketed, and markets are threatening to crack as supply chain disruptions grow. And new concerns today as lawmakers move no closer to ending the DHS shutdown, now in its 44th day, becoming the longest partial government shutdown in U.S. history.
This president has said again, I have the power to pay TSA agents, and I'm going to do that. Why didn't he do this weeks ago when we started seeing the suffering of folks at the airports? We've had a unanimous agreement to do what Democrats were saying from the beginning, pay TSA and not let ICE have another dollar when they're reckless and out of control in our neighborhoods around the country. We came to that deal. The Republicans capitulated. We unanimously passed that out of the Senate, and the Republicans rejected it.
Joining me is Justin Wolfer, who's professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan. Good to see you again, Justin. So new numbers from the University of Michigan show that U.S. consumer sentiment fell more than expected in March, hitting a 3-month low. What are these numbers telling us about the economy's outlook?
Well, first of all, Alex, the most important University of Michigan number is how we're doing in March Madness, which is fantastic right now. But let's move on to economics. I think that putting it in the frame of the last few months is interesting, but actually what's even more interesting is that's a survey that's been going for over 60, 70 years. And right now we're at one of the lowest points through that entire post-war history of the United States. So the bigger headline is we are awfully close to being as miserable American consumers as they've been at any point in recorded American history.
So in this last month, the U.S. national average per gallon of gas jumped $1, and U.S. crude oil closed at almost $100 a barrel. That was happened on Friday. Analysts warn the Strait of Hormuz has got to reopen by mid-April, or oil supply disruptions will get significantly worse, Justin. So if the strait stays closed, is there anything that will keep energy prices from skyrocketing?
Wow. A funny story for you on exactly this question. 2 or 3 days after the president invaded Iran, it was said that Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, suddenly was running around the White House saying, oh, my goodness, gas prices are going up. Is there anything we can do about it? And the approximate answer is no, or at least not in a very in a particularly quick way. There's long run things like renewable energy and like, but the president tried a couple of gimmicks, pulling oil stuff out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, allowing Americans to buy oil from Russia and in fact from Iran. But most of those are just really small, which is much of the world's oil, roughly a fifth of it, is behind the other side of the Strait of Hormuz, and it's really hard to get stuff through. And so you've got less oil for a world that's just as hungry for it. The only way that you can make all of that work is for the oil price to go up to a point where some people will do without.
Well, amid this partial shutdown, you've got airlines that are taking a hit. You've got the fatal crash at LaGuardia last Sunday. You've got some near misses in the skies and on the tarmacs. Security wait lines, I mean, come on, they're terrible. You have 500 TSA agents who've quit. Experts warn, Justin, that some airlines risk their survival if oil prices don't come down soon and people continue to cancel travel plans. So how concerning is this? And talk about the domino effect that could create.
Yeah, I'm optimistic that we're not going to see the worst of it. We're not going to see airlines going bust as a result of this. If an airline hasn't made plans for how could we survive if oil hits $100 a barrel, then management is so incompetent that they don't really deserve to be there. What's really going to happen is oil prices go up, the price of jet fuel's going up, and you've got the extra price that you're forcing people to pay. They now have to arrive at the airport 1, 2, 3 hours earlier. All of that makes airfares more expensive, and it's going to lead to less flying. So what you might see is a few less flights being scheduled. That will hit the profitability of the airlines. It could ultimately hit the employment of airlines. But I think we see everything survive.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. Glad we got you in before you sit down to watch the next March Madness game. You guys are playing Tennessee, I think. So there you go.
It's going to
Thank you very much, Justin.